The auditorium stretched wide and tall, filled with creatures from 1,000 different worlds. Jiwoo sat near the back, her small frame hidden among beings twice and 3 times her size. Some had scales that shimmered under the lights. Others had tentacles that moved like water. A few floated in the air, their bodies made of something that looked like colored smoke. She was one of only 2 humans in the entire academy, though she had not yet met the other. Commander Vrel stood on the stage below. He was from Harmonious, a world where nothing had ever tried to kill its inhabitants. His skin was pale blue, smooth and soft like a flower petal. His voice was gentle, almost singing when he spoke. He welcomed the new cadets, spoke of honor and duty, and promised them a future among the stars. Jiwoo listened carefully. She had wanted this her whole life. Earth was still new to the galactic community, barely known, hardly noticed. When she applied to the academy, the database had listed Earth as a developing world under observation. Nothing more, nothing less. She passed the entrance exams, scored high in tactics and physical tests, and earned her place here. She worked hard for this. Commander Vrel's tone changed. He clasped his hands together and looked out over the crowd. "There is a new policy from the Galactic Council," he said. "We must speak of it now, at the beginning, so there is no confusion later." The room grew quiet. Even the floating beings stopped drifting. "The Council has determined that cadets from Class 12 Deathworlds will no longer be permitted in active military service," Vrel continued. "Such individuals may remain in support roles, but they cannot serve in combat units or command positions." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Jiwoo felt her stomach tighten. "Deathworlds are planets where survival itself is a battle," Vrel explained. "Where the environment kills without mercy. Where predators hunt constantly. Where the dominant species evolved through violence and struggle. The Council believes that beings from such worlds carry psychological traits that make them unsuitable for integration into our forces. They are unpredictable. They are dangerous. They cannot be controlled." Jiwoo's hands gripped the edge of her seat. She knew Earth's classification. She had looked it up once, out of curiosity. Class 12, one of the highest danger ratings. A world where almost everything could kill you if you were not careful. Predators on every continent. Diseases in the air and water. Weather that could destroy cities. Gravity higher than most civilized worlds. And humans, the species that climb to the top of the food chain by being more stubborn and more clever than everything else, that wanted to eat them. "If anyone present is from a Class 12 world," Vrel said, "please identify yourself now." This policy is effective immediately. Silence filled the auditorium. No one moved. No one spoke. Seconds passed like hours. Jiwoo's heart pounded. She could stay quiet. No one knew. Earth's records were incomplete. She could finish the academy, take a support role, stay hidden, stay safe. But that was not why she came here. That was not who she was. She raised her hand. Every eye in the room turned toward her. Whispers started, growing louder. Vrel's eyes widened. He stepped forward, peering into the crowd. "Please stand and identify yourself." Jiwoo stood. Her legs felt steady despite everything. "Cadet Jiwoo, from Earth." The whispers became shouts. Beings leaned forward to see her. Some pointed. Others pulled back, as if afraid. She heard the word human repeated in a dozen languages. She heard Deathworlder, spoken like a curse. Vrel raised his hand for silence. It took nearly a minute for the room to settle. "Cadet Jiwoo, please come to my office immediately after this assembly. You are dismissed from orientation." She nodded and began walking down the aisle toward the exit. The crowd parted around her like she carried a disease. As she reached the doors, Another hand rose in the back of the room. "Commander," a male voice called out. "I am also from Earth." Jiwoo stopped and turned. A young man stood, tall and lean, with dark hair and calm eyes. He looked at her and nodded once. She nodded back. "Both of you to my office," Vrel said. His gentle voice had lost its song. The walk through the academy halls felt long. The other human caught up to her. "I am Hyan," he said quietly. "Jiwoo." "I was going to stay quiet," he admitted. "But when you stood up, I could not let you face this alone." She looked at him. "Thank you. We are human," he said simply. "We do not abandon each other." Commander Vrel's office was cold and sterile. 3 other instructors waited there, standing in a half circle. They looked at Jiwoo and Hyan like scientists examining dangerous specimens. "Sit," Vrel said, pointing to 2 chairs. They sat. "Earth," Vrel said, pulling up a holographic display. "I have reviewed the planetary data. Your world is classified as Class 12, Level 5 Predator Saturation, Level 6 Environmental Hostility, Level 7 Disease Prevalence. Gravity is 1.3 times galactic standard. Dominant species evolved as persistent predators with binocular vision, omnivorous digestion, and extreme endurance capabilities." He turned to face them. "Your species hunted animals to exhaustion. You threw rocks with enough force to crack skulls. You climbed to the top of your food chain, not through strength or speed, but through refusing to stop. Through outlasting everything else. Through being more stubborn than the universe itself." "Yes, sir," Jiwoo said. "That is what humans do." "This is exactly why the Council fears you," one of the other instructors said. She was from a world of philosophers, tall and thin with large eyes. "You do not know when to quit. You do not understand limits. You are dangerous to yourselves and others." "We saved ourselves," Hyan said quietly. "Our world tried to kill us every day. We survived. We learned. We built civilizations. We reached the stars. Is that not what you want in soldiers? The will to survive? The refusal to surrender? Or the inability to recognize when a battle is lost?" the philosopher replied. Vrel studied them both for a long moment. "I will be honest with you. The Council wants you expelled. They want all Deathworlders removed from military service. But the Academy has rules, and you have not broken any. You passed your entrance exams legitimately. You earned your places here." He sat down behind his desk. "I am offering you a choice. You may accept reassignment to support roles now, with no mark on your records. Or you may attempt to prove the Council wrong. We will design a special evaluation course. You will undergo psychological monitoring. You will be watched constantly. And if you show any sign of instability, any hint that your Deathworld instincts make you unsuitable, you will be expelled immediately." Jiwoo and Hyan looked at each other. No words were needed. "We will take the evaluation," Jiwoo said. Vrel nodded slowly. "Then may the stars have mercy on us all." Squad Theta met for the first time in Training Room 7. The room smelled like metal and ozone, with weapons racks lining the walls and training dummies scattered across the floor. Jiwoo arrived first, dressed in the standard academy uniform that felt too loose on her human frame. She stood at attention and waited. Hyan came next, nodding to her before taking a position nearby. Then came Myri, a being from Loomis, whose body was partially crystalline. Light passed through parts of her skin, creating small rainbows. She looked at the 2 humans with cautious curiosity. Taiyang arrived last. He was from Deep Hollow, an aquatic world where danger meant strong currents and the occasional territorial fish. His skin had a slight blue tint, and he moved with the fluid grace of someone used to swimming. He kept his distance from Jiwoo and Hyan, positioning himself on the opposite side of the room. The training instructor, a gruff veteran named Boren, entered and looked them over. "Squad Theta, you four will train together, fight together, and either succeed together or fail together. I see we have 2 humans in this squad." He glanced at Jiwoo and Hyan. "I have been instructed to monitor you closely. Do not give me a reason to write a negative report." "Yes, sir," Jiwoo and Hyan said in unison. "Today, we run basic exercises," Boren continued. "Combat drills, obstacle courses, and a session in the Extreme Environment Simulator. Let us see what you are made of." The combat drills went smoothly. Myray was excellent at analyzing patterns and predicting movements. Taiyang had good reflexes. Hyan moved with controlled efficiency. Jiwoo found herself falling into old instincts, using angles and positioning that came naturally to a species that once hunted across open plains. But it was the obstacle course that caused problems. The course was designed for average galactic citizens. Walls to climb, gaps to jump, and barriers to overcome. For most species, it was challenging but achievable. Jiwoo finished it in half the expected time. Hyan was right behind her. They barely seemed tired when they crossed the finish line. Taiyang stared at them. "How did you do that so fast?" "It was not that difficult," Jiwoo said honestly. "Not difficult?" Myray asked. "That course is rated for peak physical condition." "You both moved like it was nothing." Hyan shrugged. "Earth gravity is higher than standard. Our muscles adapted to it. This feels light to us." Boren made notes on his datapad. Jiwoo saw him writing quickly, his expression unreadable. The Extreme Environment Simulator was worse. The chamber could recreate hostile conditions from any known world. Boren set it to what he called a moderate challenge. Temperature swings, thin atmosphere, and occasional bursts of radiation. Myray struggled immediately. Her crystalline structure was sensitive to rapid temperature changes. Taiyang had difficulty breathing in the thin air. Both retreated to the safe zone within minutes. Jiwoo and Hyan remained in the chamber. The temperature dropped to freezing, then climbed to scorching heat. The air felt thin and sharp in her lungs. But Jiwoo had grown up on Earth, where you could experience all 4 seasons in a single day, depending on where you lived. Where mountains had thin air and deserts had burning heat, and tundras had killing cold. After 10 minutes, Boren called them out. "Enough. That is enough." Myray and Taiyang looked at the humans like they were aliens, which Jiwoo supposed they were. "You did not even seem uncomfortable," Myray said quietly. "It was unpleasant," Hyan admitted, "but tolerable. We have experienced worse at home." Taiyang stepped back. "What kind of world produces beings like you?" Jiwoo did not know how to answer that. She saw the fear in his eyes, the way he looked at her like she might snap at any moment. It hurt more than she expected. The rumors spread quickly. By the next day, everyone in the academy knew about Squad Theta and its 2 Deathworlders. Cadets whispered in the halls when Jiwoo passed. Some pointed. Others moved away. She heard fragments of conversations. "They do not feel pain like us. I heard they can go into berserker rages. Deathworlders are unstable, violent. You cannot trust them." Jiwoo tried to ignore it. She focused on training, on proving she belonged here. But the isolation was hard. Only Hyan understood, because he faced the same treatment. The tactical simulation exercise changed everything. Squad Theta was assigned a simple mission: secure a position and hold it against an opposing team. It should have been straightforward, but the opposing team, Squad Nova, ambushed them in the first 5 minutes. Myray panicked and froze. Taiyang called for retreat. The training AI controlling the opposition pressed the advantage, surrounding Squad Theta's position. Jiwoo saw the simulation for what it was. A test, a trap, a scenario designed to see how they responded under pressure. "Follow me," she said, her voice cutting through the panic. Now, she did not wait for confirmation. She moved forward, directly toward the largest concentration of enemy forces. Her human brain, shaped by millions of years of predator evolution, calculated angles and distances and weaknesses in fractions of a second. She saw where the enemy expected them to retreat and went the opposite direction. She saw where they had left gaps in their formation and exploited them. Hyan understood immediately and followed. Mireille and Taiyang, too surprised to argue, came after. What happened next became the subject of intense debate among the instructors. Jiwoo charged the enemy position with an aggression that shocked everyone watching. She used intimidation, making herself seem larger and more dangerous than she was. She used the terrain, forcing the enemy into narrow spaces where their numbers meant nothing. She used speed and unpredictability, striking where they did not expect and vanishing before they could respond. Squad Theta won the exercise in 8 minutes. When they exited the simulation chamber, Mireille was breathing hard. "That was insane," she said. "You ran straight at them. That should not have worked." "But it did," Jiwoo said. "Because they were not expecting it," Taiyang added. "They froze. You made them afraid of you." Hyan nodded. "Fear is a weapon. On Earth, we learned that a long time ago." The other squads watched Squad Theta with new expressions after that. Not just fear, but something else. Respect, maybe. Or perhaps just a deeper uncertainty about what humans were capable of. But the victory had a cost. Commander Vrel called Jiwoo to his office the next day. "That simulation," he said without preamble. "Your actions were effective, but extremely aggressive. Some instructors believe you acted on instinct rather than training, that you reverted to predator behavior." "I saw an opportunity and took it," Jiwoo replied. "Is that not what soldiers do?" "Soldiers think before they act. They do not charge blindly into superior numbers. I did not charge blindly. I calculated the risks and determined we could win. And we did." Vrel studied her. "You are making this very difficult, Cadet Jiwoo. Some on the council want you gone. They see every success as proof of danger rather than capability. They say you are too aggressive, too willing to take risks, too comfortable with violence." Jiwoo met his eyes. "My world made me this way. I cannot change what I am. But I can prove that what I am is exactly what you need." "We shall see," Vrel said quietly. "We shall see." The weeks continued. Squad Theta trained together, fought together, and slowly began to trust together. Mireille started asking Jiwoo questions about Earth, about humans, about what it was like to grow up on a world that wanted you dead. Taiyang stopped keeping his distance, though he still flinched sometimes when Jiwoo moved too quickly. They were becoming a team. But the test was far from over. The real challenge was still coming, and everyone in the academy knew it. The war games were only a month away, and Squad Theta would have to prove themselves in front of the entire galaxy. The announcement came during morning formation. Every cadet stood in perfect rows while Commander Vrel addressed them from the platform. His voice carried across the training grounds, clear and formal. "The annual war games will begin in 2 weeks. Every squad will compete. The games test everything you have learned: tactics, teamwork, combat skills, and mental endurance. The top squads will receive prestigious assignments upon graduation. The lowest squads will face remedial training or possible dismissal." Jiwoo felt the weight of those words. This was more than a competition. This was her chance to prove that Deathworlders belonged in the military, that humans were not monsters to be feared, but soldiers to be valued. Vrel continued. "However, there are special conditions this year. Squad Theta, with its human members, will compete under modified rules. Cadets Jiwoo and Hyan will not be permitted to carry standard weapons. They will wear stress monitoring devices at all times. If their readings exceed safe parameters, they will be removed from the games immediately. Whispers rippled through the formation. Jiwoo kept her face neutral, but inside she felt anger burning. They were being handicapped before the games even started. After formation ended, Mireille found Jiwoo. This is not fair. They are making it impossible for us to win. We will win anyway, Jiwoo said quietly. We have to. Taiyang looked worried. Without weapons, you are at a disadvantage. The other squads will target us specifically. They see us as a threat. Hyan smiled slightly. Humans became the dominant species on Earth without plasma rifles or energy shields. We use rocks and sticks and our brains. We will manage. The training intensified. Squad Theta practiced scenarios where Jiwoo and Hyan fought unarmed while Mireille and Taiyang provided support. They developed new tactics, using the humans as mobile distractions while the armed members struck from cover. It was unconventional, but it worked in simulations. The other squads watched them train. Some looked amused. Others looked nervous. Squad Nova, led by a cadet named Daeho from Titan's Reach, made their opinions known loudly in the dining hall one evening. Deathworlders, Daeho said, his voice carrying across the room. All reputation and no substance. They are primitives who got lucky enough to discover space travel. In a real fight, they would break like everyone else. His squad mates laughed. Jiwoo kept eating, refusing to react. Hyan did the same. Daeho stood and walked over to their table. He was large, from a high-gravity world similar to Earth. His muscles were dense and powerful. I am talking to you, Deathworlder. Do you have nothing to say? Jiwoo looked up at him. I have nothing to prove to you. Wait for the games. The games, Daeho scoffed. Where you will be unarmed and monitored like criminals. Where everyone will see that humans are overrated. I look forward to it. He walked away, his squad following. Mireille looked angry. Someone should report him for harassment. No, Jiwoo said. Let him talk. Words are just air. Actions matter. The war games began on a cold morning. The first event was a simulated hostile planet environment. Each squad would be dropped in different locations and would have to survive, gather resources, and eliminate opposing teams. The last 3 squads standing would advance to the semifinals. Squad Theta was dropped in a rocky canyon region. The temperature was below freezing, the air was thin, and the terrain was treacherous. Perfect conditions for humans. Mireille, scan for resources and other squads, Jiwoo ordered. Taiyang, find us a defensible position. Hyan and I will scout the perimeter. They moved quickly and quietly. Jiwoo felt the cold biting at her skin, but it was nothing compared to some winter days on Earth. Her lungs adapted to the thin air within minutes. Hyan moved beside her like a shadow, his eyes scanning every rock and crevice. They found Squad Nova within the first hour. Daeho's team had claimed a position near a resource cache and were setting up defensive barriers. They looked comfortable, confident. 6 opponents, 3 armed with long-range weapons, 3 with close combat weapons, Hyan whispered. They have the advantage of position and firepower, but they do not expect us to attack, Jiwoo said. They think we will avoid confrontation, will we? Jiwoo smiled. No, we attack within the hour. Get the others. The plan was simple, but required perfect timing. Mireille would create a distraction using her light manipulation abilities, making it seem like a squad was approaching from the east. Taiyang would move to a sniper position and provide covering fire. Jiwoo and Hyan would flank from the west while Nova was focused on the false threat. It almost worked perfectly. The distraction pulled 4 of Nova's members out of position. Taiyang's shots kept them pinned. Jiwoo and Hyeon moved like ghosts, using every bit of cover, every shadow. But Daeho was not fooled. He saw through the tactic and turned to meet them with 2 squad members at his side. "Predictable," he said, raising his weapon. "Did you really think this would work?" Jiwoo did not answer. She dove forward as he fired, rolling under the shot and coming up inside his reach. Without a weapon, she used her body, striking at nerve clusters and weak points that humans had learned to exploit over millennia of unarmed combat. Daeho was strong, but he fought like someone who had never faced a real predator. Hyeon engaged the other 2, moving with practiced efficiency. Within seconds, all 3 of Nova's members were down, eliminated by simulation markers. The rest of Nova's squad saw their leader fall and tried to regroup, but Taiyang and Mireille had already moved to cut off their escape. Squad Theta eliminated Squad Nova in under 10 minutes. Daeho lay on the ground, his simulation suit marking him as eliminated. He stared at Jiwoo with shock and something that might have been fear. "How did you move so fast? How did you know where to strike?" "Because on Earth, we hunted things faster and stronger than us," Jiwoo said. "We learned to be smart, to be quick, and to never give up. That is what Deathworlders do." Squad Theta advanced through the early rounds, eliminating 2 more squads before the first day ended. By nightfall, they were among the final 3 teams, guaranteed a spot in the semifinals. But that night, as Jiwoo was preparing for sleep, alarms blared in her dormitory. Medical officers rushed in with monitoring equipment. "Cadet Jiwoo, your stress readings during today's events exceeded safe parameters multiple times," one officer said. "We are required to evaluate you before you can continue." Jiwoo felt cold dread. "I felt fine. I was in control the entire time." "Your readings suggest otherwise. Elevated heart rate, increased adrenaline, heightened neural activity. These are signs of combat stress that could lead to psychological breaks. Or signs that my body was doing exactly what it evolved to do," Jiwoo argued. "Humans experience adrenaline surges during danger. It is normal for us. It is how we survive. That is for the medical board to determine. You are suspended from the games until further evaluation." They took her to the medical wing. She sat in a cold room while doctors and psychologists examined her, ran tests, asked endless questions. Hours passed. Then a full day. The semifinals would begin soon, and she was trapped here, being treated like a dangerous animal instead of a soldier. In another room, Hyeon was undergoing the same evaluation. Squad Theta was being torn apart, and there was nothing either of them could do except wait and hope that someone in authority would see the truth. That humans were not unstable. They were simply built for a harder universe than most species could imagine. Dr. Narration sat across from Jiwoo in the evaluation room. She was from Medarist, a world of endless fields and gentle rains where nothing dangerous had evolved in millions of years. Her people were known as xenopsychologists, experts in understanding alien minds. She looked at Jiwoo with curious but kind eyes. "Tell me about fear," Nare said. Jiwoo blinked. "What do you mean? When you are in combat, when the danger is real, what does fear feel like to you?" Jiwoo thought carefully. "It feels sharp, like electricity in my blood. It makes me think faster, move quicker, see more clearly. Fear on Earth was a tool for survival. The ones who felt no fear died quickly. The ones who felt too much fear never tried anything. We learned to use fear, to ride it like a wave." Nare made notes. "And anger? Aggression?" "The same. Controlled. Purposeful. Humans who could not control these emotions did not survive to have children. We are the descendants of the ones who mastered their own instincts." "Fascinating," Nare murmured. The Academy believes your elevated stress responses indicate loss of control. But what I am hearing suggests the opposite. You maintain control precisely because your body is designed to function under stress. Yes, Jiwoo said, feeling hope for the first time in days. That is exactly right. Nare spent another hour testing Jiwoo, running simulations, measuring responses. When it was done, she sat back and looked at her data with an expression that was hard to read. I am going to write a report, she said quietly. But I do not think my superiors will like what it says. Meanwhile, Hyan was reaching his own conclusions. Stuck in the medical wing with access to the Academy's computer network, he started digging into why the Deathworld ban had been implemented so suddenly. Medical reports did not support it. Historical data showed that cadets from challenging worlds actually had better performance records than those from paradise planets. He found the answer buried in political files that he probably should not have been able to access. But Academy security was designed to keep people out, not to stop someone who grew up on a world where you had to be clever to survive. Ambassador Soren from the Hierarchy Worlds had pushed the ban through the council. His official reasoning was military efficiency and psychological safety. But his private communications told a different story. He feared competition. The Hierarchy Worlds had always produced the majority of military leadership. But in recent years, cadets from rougher worlds had been outperforming them, earning the prestigious assignments, getting the promotions. Soren's solution was to eliminate the competition entirely by classifying them as unfit for service. Hyan found something else too. Recent military operations had suffered unexpected failures. Graduates from the Academy were abandoning posts, panicking under fire, making mistakes that cost lives. The records were classified, but Hyan was patient and careful. He traced each failure back to the individuals involved. Every single one came from paradise worlds. Comfortable, safe worlds where danger was a theoretical concept studied in books rather than a daily reality. They had trained well in simulations, but broke when faced with real chaos. None of the failures involved anyone from a challenging world. Not one. Hyan copied everything he found and sent it to Mireille and Taiyang. Then he sent it to Dr. Nare. Then, because he was human and humans did not do things halfway, he sent it to several sympathetic instructors and a few journalists who covered military affairs. Dr. Nare's report was released the same day. It was damning in its conclusions. The Academy's understanding of Deathworld psychology was not just flawed, it was backward. Species from hostile environments did not develop instability. They developed resilience, adaptability, and stress tolerance that peaceful world species simply could not match. A soldier from a paradise world, Nare wrote, is like a plant grown in a greenhouse. Beautiful, perfect, but fragile when exposed to harsh weather. A soldier from a death world is like a wild plant that fought for every bit of sunlight and water. It may not be as pretty, but it will survive the storm. Commander Vrel tried to suppress the report. Orders came directly from Ambassador Soren, but Nare had already distributed copies. Within hours, it was being discussed across the Academy. Within a day, it reached the broader military community. By the end of the week, the Galactic Council itself was debating it. Jiwoo and Hyan were released from medical evaluation. Their readings were declared normal for their species. They were cleared to return to the War Games semifinals, which had been delayed pending their evaluation. Squad Theta reunited in their training room. Mireille looked relieved. Taiyang actually smiled. I read everything, Mireille said. The political conspiracy, the suppressed failure reports, all of it. This was never about safety. It was about fear and control. So what do we do now? Taiyang asked. Jiwoo looked at her team. We finish what we started. We win the War Games. We prove that Deathworlders are not dangerous. we are necessary. That the military needs people who know how to face real danger, not just simulated scenarios. Ambassador Soren will be watching the finals personally, Hyan said. I accessed his schedule. He wants to see us fail. He will be looking for any excuse to disqualify us, to prove his point about Deathworlders being unstable. Then we do not give him that excuse, Jiwoo said. We fight smart, we fight clean, and we show everyone watching what humans are really capable of. The semifinals arrived. Squad Theta faced a skilled team from the core worlds who specialized in defensive tactics. The scenario was brutal. Defend a position against waves of automated attackers while environmental conditions deteriorated around them. Squad Theta worked like a single organism. Mireille calculated attack patterns and predicted enemy movements. Taeyang's marksmanship was perfect, each shot eliminating a target with minimal ammunition waste. Hyan moved through the chaos like flowing water, always where he was needed. And Jiwoo commanded, making split-second decisions that kept them alive. They won, but barely. The victory was hard-earned and left them exhausted. The finals would be against Squad Prime, the defending champions. They were students from Sanctuary, a world so peaceful that they had to study violence from historical records because they had never seen it in person. But they were good. Very good. They had won the War Games 3 years running. In the days before the final match, the academy buzzed with tension. Everyone knew this was more than a competition. It was a test of philosophies. Safe worlds versus dangerous worlds. Theory versus experience. The carefully controlled military the council wanted versus the hardened warriors some instructors believed they needed. Ambassador Soren arrived at the academy with an entourage. He made public statements about maintaining standards, about the importance of psychological stability in military service. He visited training sessions and observed squads with the air of someone inspecting livestock. When he watched Squad Theta train, his expression was cold and calculating. Jiwoo felt his eyes on her like a weight. This was the man who wanted her kind eliminated from the military, who saw humans and all Deathworlders as threats to be contained rather than assets to be valued. The night before the finals, Jiwoo could not sleep. She walked the academy halls, thinking about everything that had led to this moment. Earth had fought so hard to join the galactic community. Humans had proven themselves time and again. And now it all came down to one final test. She found Hyan in the observation deck, looking out at the stars. Nervous? He asked. Terrified, she admitted. What if we fail? What if we prove Soren right? We will not fail, Hyan said with quiet confidence. Because we are human. And humans do not know how to quit. Jiwoo smiled. No, we do not. Tomorrow would decide everything. Tomorrow they would show the galaxy what Deathworlders were truly made of. The arena was packed. Every cadet, every instructor, and dozens of visiting dignitaries filled the observation decks. Screens throughout the academy broadcast the finals live. Even off-world, thousands watched through interstellar communication networks. This was more than a competition now. It was a spectacle, a political statement, a moment that would be remembered. Squad Theta stood in the preparation area. Jiwoo checked her equipment one last time. The stress monitors were attached to her wrists, blinking with steady green lights. No weapons except for a basic training knife. Hyan had the same limited loadout. Mireille and Taeyang carried standard weapons, but they all knew the other team outgunned them. Commander Vrel appeared in the doorway. The scenario is locked in. You will defend a position against Squad Prime for 30 minutes. The environmental conditions will deteriorate progressively. Extreme heat, then cold, then radiation, then low oxygen. It is designed to be unwinnable. Unwinnable? Mireille asked. Vrel looked uncomfortable. Ambassador Soren chose the scenario personally. He wants to see how you handle impossible odds. Jiwoo felt anger flash through her, but she pushed it down. Then, we will show them how humans handle impossible odds. We survive them. Vrel hesitated. There is something you should know. If you win, Soren has the authority to disqualify you on behavioral grounds. If your stress monitors spike, if you show any aggression he deems excessive, he will use it as proof that Deathworlders are unstable. This scenario is designed to make you fail no matter what you do. Then, we do not fail, Hyan said simply. We adapt. Like we always do. Vrel nodded slowly. May fortune favor you. The scenario began. Squad Theta materialized in a defensive position on a rocky hillside. Their objective marker glowed 300 meters away. They had to hold that position for 30 minutes while Squad Prime attacked from multiple directions. The temperature was already climbing. Within minutes, it reached 40 degrees Celsius. Sweat began dripping down Jiwoo's face. Positions, she ordered. Myray, high ground. Taiyang, cover the eastern approach. Hyan, you are with me on mobile defense. Squad Prime appeared on the horizon. 6 members, all armed with advanced weapons, all trained by the best instructors in the academy. They moved with professional precision, spreading out to surround the position. The attack began with long-range fire. Energy bolts scorched the rocks around Squad Theta. Myray returned fire, her shots calculated and precise. Taiyang picked off targets that exposed themselves. But Squad Prime was patient, methodical, wearing them down. The temperature hit 50 degrees. The heat was brutal, making breathing difficult. Jiwoo saw Myray struggling, her crystalline body reflecting light in ways that showed stress. Taiyang's movements were slowing, but Jiwoo and Hyan were barely affected. Earth had deserts where temperatures exceeded 50 degrees. Humans evolved to shed heat through sweat, to keep functioning when other species would collapse. They used this advantage, staying mobile while their opponents tried to conserve energy. Hyan, flank left. I go right. We break their formation, Jiwoo said. They moved like they had trained, like they had evolved to move. Quick and quiet, using terrain and shadows. Squad Prime did not expect a counterattack in these conditions. They expected Squad Theta to hunker down and wait. Jiwoo came up behind 2 of Prime's members. Without weapons, she used speed and surprise, eliminating them with precise strikes before they could react. Hyan did the same on the opposite flank. Squad Prime's leader called for regrouping, but the formation was broken. The advantage shifted. Then the temperature plunged. Within seconds, it dropped to minus 20 Celsius. The shift was so sudden that most species would go into shock. Jiwoo felt the cold bite into her sweat-soaked skin. It was harsh, but humans had lived in frozen tundras and Arctic regions. They wore furs and built fires and refused to let the ice kill them. Her body adjusted, her breathing steady. Squad Prime was not as fortunate. 2 of their members went down immediately, their species unable to handle the temperature swing. The remaining 4 tried to press the attack, but their movements were sluggish. Push now, Jiwoo shouted. Squad Theta charged. Not a reckless charge, but a calculated assault. They used the moment when Prime was weakest, when the cold sapped their strength and slowed their reflexes. Myray and Taiyang provided covering fire. Jiwoo and Hyan moved like wolves, fast and relentless. Within minutes, only Prime's leader remained, and he was surrounded. Surrender? Jiwoo asked. He looked at her, then at his eliminated squad, then at the timer showing 8 minutes still remaining. He lowered his weapon. We surrender. The simulation ended. Victory for Squad Theta. The arena erupted. Some cheered. Some sat in stunned silence. The impossible scenario had been beaten, and by the squad, everyone expected to fail. But Jiwoo saw Ambassador Soren stand up in the observation box. His face was furious. He spoke urgently into a communication device. Seconds later, alarms blared. Medical officers rushed onto the field. Cadets Jiwoo and Hyan, your stress monitors registered critical levels. You are required to submit to immediate evaluation. The match result is under review pending investigation of potential behavioral instability. Jiwoo looked at her wrist monitor. It showed red across every metric. Heart rate, adrenaline, neural activity, all in what the system considered dangerous zones. "I am fine," she said. "I was in complete control." "The monitors do not lie," the lead medical officer said. "You exceeded safe parameters." Commander Vrel descended from the observation deck. Behind him came Dr. Narray and several other instructors. They looked angry. "Those parameters are based on species from peaceful worlds," Narray said loudly enough for everyone to hear. "Human physiology is different. What you are measuring is not instability. It is their normal combat state. Their bodies are designed to function at levels that would kill most of us." Ambassador Soren arrived, his entourage behind him. "The rules are clear. Excessive stress responses indicate psychological instability. These cadets must be removed from military service." "The rules are wrong," Narray shot back. "My report proves it. You are punishing them for being effective soldiers. I am protecting the military from dangerous elements." Commander Vrel stepped between them. For a long moment, he was silent, looking at Jiwoo and Hyan, then at Soren, then at the thousands watching from the stands and screens. "I have reviewed Dr. Norie's report," Vrel said, his voice carrying across the arena. "I have reviewed the suppressed records of military failures. I have watched these two humans perform under pressure that would break most cadets. And I have come to a conclusion." He turned to face Soren directly. "The Deathworld ban is suspended, effective immediately. Furthermore, I am recommending to the Council that Cadets Jiwoo and Hyan be offered positions as combat instructors upon graduation. We need soldiers who understand what real danger looks like, who can teach others how to face it. We need Deathworlders." The arena exploded with noise. Some cheered. Some argued. Soren's face turned dark with rage. "You do not have the authority," Soren said. "I am the Academy Commander. I have every authority when it comes to training and evaluating soldiers. Your political interference ends now." Vrel raised his hand for silence. When the arena quieted, he continued. "Squad Theta is declared the winner of the War Games. Their performance was exceptional. Their teamwork was flawless, and they accomplished what the scenario designers believed was impossible. This is what we should aspire to in every soldier." Jiwoo felt tears trying to form, but she blinked them away. Beside her, Hyan stood straighter. Ray was smiling. Taiyang looked relieved. But it was what happened next that Jiwoo would remember forever. From the cadet section, someone stood up. Then another. Then dozens. Then hundreds. They applauded, the sound building like thunder. Not just for Squad Theta's victory, but for what it represented. A change. An acknowledgement that strength came in many forms, and that surviving a harsh world made you stronger, not weaker. Months later, at the next Academy orientation, Jiwoo stood on the same stage where Commander Vrel had announced the Deathworld ban. But now she wore instructor insignia, and the cadets looking up at her were different. "Welcome to the Galactic Military Academy," she said. "You come from hundreds of worlds, each unique, each valuable. Some of you come from peaceful worlds. Some from challenging ones. Some from places the galaxy calls Deathworlds." She paused, looking out over the crowd. "I want to know who you are." If you come from a world that tried to kill you, a world where you had to fight for every day of life, a world that made you strong through necessity rather than choice, I want you to stand now. Silence for a moment. Then, one by one, hands raised. Far more than Jiwoo expected. Dozens of cadets stood, representing species she had never heard of, from worlds she could not imagine. All of them had hidden their origins, afraid of judgment, afraid of rejection. Look around, Jiwoo said. See how many of you there are. You are not alone. You are not dangerous. You are survivors, and that makes you exactly what the galaxy needs. Welcome to the Academy. Let us show them what survival really means. The applause was deafening. Hyen stood beside her on the stage, smiling. Commander Vrel watched from the wings, nodding in approval. Even Dr. Nare was there, documenting this moment,